In this video, we were talking all about Destination D, all these announcements that dropped yesterday. A lot to discuss. We're going to kind of break it down a little bit. We're also going to do another video actually later on this week with Marty, our good friend Marty, and Candid Camper to really break down into the nitty gritty for all this stuff. But right now, we want to get our thoughts out there and kind of talk to you guys about what we heard yesterday. So welcome aboard to OG55. Welcome aboard to another episode of OG55. We're talking all about Destination D. Destination D. We're talking about all the announcements. We're talking about Daddy Josh, because that's really the big elephant in the room with this whole thing, I think. But before we do that, I want to introduce my fantastic colleague, my partner in crime, Mr. George, Citrus George, back in the house. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a while. We haven't done one of these in a long time,
Yeah,
no,
right.
it's always great to come on, talk some shop with you, and yeah, I'm very excited to get into this topic because I mean, there's a lot that went on during this event. Not really knowing if it's good, bad, or I've been scratching my head with this one, and so it's going to be great to kind of dive in to those topics with you. But anyway, if you'd like to follow me on social media, you could do so on X at Disney George. You could also find me part of the podcast called A Walk with Walt. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Perfect. We're going to go ahead and chime you in right now. There we go. You're officially
Nice.
in the house, George. Okay, so let's talk about some of these announcements. I'm not going to share any articles or anything like that. I mean, there wasn't like a huge amount. I mean, a lot of it was like these little tidbits here and there. We got no major news. But let's go ahead and start with the Country Bears. So I guess Country Bears is kind of being reimagined. The show is going to stay, but they're gonna I guess perform Disney songs now in like this Nashville style music. Is that correct, George?
That's correct. Yeah, it's going to be the Country Bears kind of singing their favorite songs, Disney songs. They gave us a little behind the scenes of them in the studio recording these songs, and they gave us a little taste of them singing the bare necessities from the Jungle Book. With yeah, it's supposed to have like a this Nashville kind of like country twang sort of thing, and I'm okay with it. The one piece of information that we got, I think, after the fact that they made that announcement, that Liver Lips will be getting a new name, and that's going to be very interesting. He's going to be renamed Romeo McGraw.
Wait, are you for real? I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
That's really what they're gonna. That's
that's
really
really
that's.
yeah. Liver Lips is getting a name change.
Oh, no, I knew he was getting a name change, but I didn't know it was Romeo.
Romeo
What?
McGraw. Yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay, that's interesting. I thought you were giving us your patented George humor here, and that's a
Yeah.
for real thing.
Yes.
I was like, wait a minute. Okay, that's
Yeah.
wild. Okay, so now from what I understand, they're changing the name because it's problematic. Is that currently what
I'm
is the
assuming,
case?
yeah, yeah, I think because he's the only one of the country bears that's getting a name change. And I guess from what I understand, something with the term of liver lips. Um, I don't know. I guess
No
it's
idea.
just too much
But
for them, I guess.
so they're changing it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I know this country bear thing is kind of interesting. I mean, it's positive in the sense that at least the show is staying. I mean, at least you guys have
That's
a
where
country
I'm
bear.
at. Like, because well, I wasn't even thinking that there was even going to be anything about the country bears. That piece of news kind of caught me off guard. But yes, I agree with you. If it allows us to keep country bears, I'm all for it.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, it's a positive step. Yeah, we heard rumors from like Braden like months ago that they were going to maybe retheme this area to New Orleans and give the Bears more of a jazzy kind of thing. From what I understand, that was the rumor. Apparently, they dropped those plans and they're going to just kind of go this route. I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, it's cool that they're staying. It's not earth-shattering news though by any means. So,
And I think too the show does need a little bit of an update. I don't really care about I like the adult rated jokes, to be honest with you, because it's something that the kids may not understand but the adults do.
right.
But just the overall, like with the audio soundtrack and everything, you can definitely tell it's very old. So it'd be great to see something new, something refreshed. um, but all in all, I'm just glad the Bears are staying.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then also we got some Epcot news. I guess Test Track is getting kind of a reimagining. It's gonna be kind of centered around World of Motion now.
That
That's kind
is,
of cool.
yeah, that's really, it's going to basically be Test Track 3.0. It's being sponsored by Chevrolet, which was the original sponsor of the first Test Track. Um, and yeah, I think to pay tribute to the original classic Epcot attraction that this ride replaced and kind of give it that World of Motion feel, I'm very curious to see what they go about doing it. But I definitely feel like it's definitely a ride that needs some change, and especially since the park's transformation of Epcot, especially the Future World side. Um, they're getting the neighborhoods and everything like the World of Nature, World Discovery, and so I think the update Test Track as part of, I believe that's part of the World Discovery, um, that it would be only fitting to change it up with the land itself. So I'm actually looking forward to that as well because I feel like the ride definitely needs some changes.
Yeah, like we went on it this last July together, and it was cool for sure. But there were some wear and tear on that thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't in tip top condition. So it's good that they're going to go in there, refresh it. I don't know. This was one of the more positive things I think that came out of this announcement or this event. I think
And
this
they're
test
keeping
track was
it and they're keeping it a non-IP. Go figure.
very fascinating. It seems like Disney has sort of realized that there is money making potential. They're late to the party, but they've realized there is money making potential in sort of the in-house park IP, so to speak, where it's like it's not IP like from the studio, but it's like the park IP. So like Figment, World of Motion, right? Like the park, the stuff that was birthed from the parks, not the movie end of things.
Correct.
And they're starting to realize that there's some money in this, which is good, you know. And that brings us to the next thing, which is Figment, right? I guess you got is he a walk around character now?
He is a meet and greet, and he actually just started at the time of this recording, which is September 10th. He started the meet and greet today, and I've noticed a lot of people mentioning on social media that it's up to a 2 hour wait to meet Figment. So apparently, he is very popular. He's a well known character in the Disney community, and I think that this is a great route for Disney to see that if people are willing to spend 2 hours of their park day to meet him, I feel like the Imagination Pavilion needs some more love. It definitely needs an update. I would love to see the Dreamfinder come back. That
Right.
would be phenomenal. But definitely, Figment needs more love.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And then we got this pirate lounge coming to what, Magic Kingdom.
Magic Kingdom. This one was kind of interesting that they're kind of like building off of the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction, but it's going to be adjacent to that, and it's going to be like a pirate lounge. It's going to be overall themed. I think that they mentioned something about that there may be like pirate characters walking about. Sort of like how they do like with the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, where they have pirates interacting with guests. I think that's what they're going to do with that. And then the talking parrot that used to be on the outside of the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction is getting a permanent home with inside the lounge. So I'm assuming that they're going to maybe add more of like an animated quality to him. That's going to be like an automated audio animatronic character of the Green Parrot.
Now, this lounge, did they give any word on whether is this gonna be like a bar? Like, are they gonna have alcohol at this lounge, or do we know?
They never confirmed whether or not, but um, I'm assuming that they might have something. It just depends on like the overall theme. If this is going to supposed to be like a kid-friendly, family-oriented lounge, or if it's geared more towards adult. They never really confirmed that. Um, but I think it would be quite interesting if they wouldn't have the alcohol, because being that the pirates love to drink their rum.
Right, right. It would just feel weird if it didn't have it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's a pirate lounge. It just feels weird not to have it.
yeah,
It honestly feels weird not to have it at the Golden Horseshoe at Disneyland. I mean, you have this kind of ruckus, kind of rowdy kind of thing in there, right? And then to not have that alcohol element in there even feels off. So I think sometimes it goes with the theme, right? Pirates, like you said, the rum and all that, you got to have that in there to some degree at least.
yeah.
I'm trying to think what else we got. Okay, so we got a little bit on the Avengers e-ticket coming to DCA. We got that. We got that. Just a new piece of concept art. Nothing special. It's a ship kind of going through a porthole. It's one piece of art. They didn't give us any details otherwise,
Yeah,
right?
and what I find interesting about this is if you looked at all three pieces of concept art, like starting from the very beginning, when we were supposed to get that type of mechanism where the seats break off and you're in your own individual type of ride experience. You know, it went from that to this oversized, I don't know, it's sort of like the vehicle that you would find like with Transformers or what have you, uh, where they showed us King Thanos and what have you. Now this piece of concept art still kind of resembles like the Transformers vehicle, but then it also kind of gives it like a little touch of Star Tours a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, and I know that like so it's weird. And this is kind of where I'm a little perplexed, right? Because some of the vehicles actually look very similar to the vehicles for this new Neverland attraction going into Tokyo. Disney Sea, the what do they call that?
Fantasy
The
Springs.
Fantasy Springs. The vehicles actually look very similar to that. But from what I understand, Tokyo has a lock on their attractions for a certain amount of years. Like we can't get the clone for a certain amount. Like there's a time period,
I believe it's 10 years.
10 years. So I don't know if it applies though to the vehicles though. So that's the thing, or the ride technology. I don't know like what all the legalese and what have you. I don't know where that starts and stops. Does it need to be an exact clone for it to be, relevant, or can Disney take elements of this new thing right out the gate? That I don't know. I'm not a
That
lawyer.
yeah,
I haven't
that's
seen
a
it.
good that's a good question. Yeah, it's either five or 10 years. I remember that they had that agreement, but as far as I know, I thought it was just if it was a carbon copy of the attraction itself. I don't
Okay.
know if it actually proclaims to like certain aspects of it of an attraction, like whether it's like a ride vehicle or a ride mechanism or what have you. I think, and I could be wrong, because but I think it's if it was a carbon copy of the same exact attraction, Disney would have to wait 5 to 10 years after the fact of, from what I understand, not from it being built, but from the day that it opens.
Okay. So that's why I'm like, I don't really know because it looks similar to those Neverland ride vehicles, but I'm like, are they really going to get that ambitious over here at DCA? Now, God, I wish they would. I really wish they would. I'm a huge DCA fan. I think DCA needs something that really wows people and something that like the whole family can kind of go on. I just don't know if they're going to borrow if from Tokyo Disney. That's a lot of ambition over there, and
Yeah.
but the vehicles do look very similar. But to be fair, they also look very similar to a ride like Transformers over at Universal. So, I think by and large, I think basically what we're going to get with this attraction is a Transformers-esque type of attraction. You're probably going to go through physical sets, I'm sure, but there will be a lot of screens as well. You'll stop at a screen, you'll move around, you'll move on to the next one, you move around, up and down. They did say in the presentation that this thing can go on ground or it can fly. So it'll feel like you're rolling and then flying and the whole thing. So I'm thinking like just kind of like a Transformer style thing is really where my head is kind of at right now.
And Disney is on a slippery slope with this attraction because this ride has been geared up for so long and it's been changed so many times. And this was supposed to be the centerpiece attraction of Avengers Campus with Mission Breakout and Web Slingers kind of sitting at the backbone of this land, where they're going to have to do something kind of pretty out of the box, where it's not just a typical attraction like Transformers, because then you're going to tie that up to Web Slingers, and it's going to be like,
Right.
okay, so we have two screen based attractions, and it's kind of iffy there. So we'll see what they have planned. I wonder if that's why it's taking them so long to kind of create a storyline for this type of attraction system.
Yeah, and they've had issues with this Avengers um, attraction. I mean, it was something very different before. It was that Quinjet thing, and then now they're doing this. And like you said, George, they're having issues kind of working this thing and trying to get the right balance. So we'll see how it works out. I mean, people, a lot of fans, I've heard so much on Twitter about how this attraction is now back. It's not back. It never left. Just because we don't get daily updates on this thing doesn't mean it was canceled. This thing has always been on the table. The Marvel MCU, while it is going through a downturn right now, for the most part, it's very profitable for the Walt Disney Company. They're not going to leave money on the table like that. We will get an Avengers ride or some big Marvel e-ticket at DCA. It'll happen. I'm certain of it. So yeah, people that think it's canceled and now it's back, and it's happening. It's just going to take them forever and a day to build it. So unfortunately, so now I want to go. Okay, so let's talk about Animal Kingdom now a little bit, because Animal Kingdom is really kind of where the meat and potatoes is with
Right.
like the announcements. So go ahead, George. I'll let you set the table. What do you think, brother?
Okay, so leading up to Destination D23, social media was blowing up with the notion that Zootopia and even Moana was coming to Animal Kingdom. More so with Zootopia. It just kind of moved into the segue that Animal Kingdom was going to take over Dinoland USA. And a lot of people were configuring, well, how is that going to work? And also leading up to Destination D23, they were making these announcements for the international parks, for Tokyo, for Paris, for Hong Kong, for Shanghai. And at Shanghai, they released the first ever kind of opening for Zootopia in the park, with the audio animatronics of the animals and what have you, and a first glimpse of the ride system that's supposed to be for the Zootopia Cop Patrol uh, attraction, which the ride system was designed like Rise of the Resistance. And a lot of people were saying, okay, so are they going to gut out the dinosaur attraction, and that's the ride system we're going to get? Are they keeping the dinosaur ride system and then just keeping the storyline, or with Zootopia changing it out dinosaur? A lot of questions were being asked, and Braden from Mickey Views posted a tweet the night before the event, and he was very confident in this tweet, so it probably came from his sources that he could only say so much. And he said, Zootopia is definitely coming to Animal Kingdom, just not where you think. And so, again, knowing us as Disney geeks,
Right.
we start thinking, it's like, okay, so it's not going in Dinosaur, it's not going in Dinoland. Where else is this going? Well, there was a lot of talk that, even to myself, that I thought, well, maybe Zootopia would go where Rafiki's Planet Watch is, that changed the Wildlife Express train to the tram that Judy took in the movie, or there's an expansion pad behind Asia where Everest is. And there was just like a lot of different ideas being thrown around. Well, the day
Uh-oh.
came, and WDI's Bruce Vaughn, who now returned to the company, joined Damaro on stage, and they brought up Animal Kingdom for Zootopia, and it seemed like everyone was like ready to clap, and then Vaughn broke the news that Zootopia is gonna be a 3D experience inside the Tree of Life that's going to replace It's Tough to Be a Bug. And just like me and everyone else that was in that room, I'm trying to. That's one of the one of the decisions I'm scratching my head at of how is this going to work. Where I understand that It's Tough to Be a Bug is an old, tired attraction. It opened with the park. It promoted the film A Bug's Life, and yeah, you go to the park, you maybe have like a 5 to 10 minute wait for this attraction. Nothing major. You want to add something new, that's fine. My thing is, when you put It's Tough to Be a Bug inside the Tree of Life, it fits the overall theme. If you were to look inside of a tree or go underneath the tree stump, you would find millions of bugs. It fits the
Right.
storyline. But now you're going to walk into a tree and it takes you to Zootopia, where there's a rabbit, a fox, a bull, all these animals. It's like I'm not getting the correlation between the two. If you want to have a Zootopia 3D show, which completely caught us all off guard, that's fine. But I'm not getting putting it in the Tree of Life.
Yeah, well, Zootopia feels very, and maybe they'll go a different angle with it. I don't really know. We don't know yet. But like, you're right though, George. When you like, Tough to Be a Bug worked in that space because you were in a tree and it was like they were bugs. It works. With Zootopia, you go in a tree to be surrounded by a bunch of cityscape. So there's not a whole lot. It doesn't really make sense. So now maybe they'll do something different with it. Maybe you'll go in the tree and it'll be there with Judy Hopps' family. But from the concept art, it didn't look like that. It didn't look like you were in some like rabbit like hole. It was like it looked very city-ish, right? From what it had the cop car, I believe, in there and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So it
And unfortunately, you didn't get to go into the It's Tough to Be a Bug theater at Animal Kingdom. I know you've been to the one at DCA before it closed down. But when you approach inside the tree, you get that tree element. So while you're waiting to enter into the theater, you see the roots of the tree. You see underground. And so I'm just not understanding how that's going to fit well with Zootopia.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the art now. There's no cop car, and I was mistaken on that, but it just shows a bunch of characters. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that's gonna. That's tough, man. It's all execution at the end of the day. I mean, if they can work it where they're in a giant tree for some reason, I guess it could work. It just seems a little shoehorned to me. And here's the other problem with this announcement, and this is where Daddy Josh comes in. Okay, I think Josh is getting in. He's getting in his own way a lot with this stuff. He's really shooting himself in the foot. Josh, if you're watching this, please take my advice, or at least hear me out. If you happen to come across the video, you had the entire week leading up to this Destination D event showing us these incredible immersive lands overseas. So you have like the Hong Kong, that frozen area, which is like incredible.
Looked phenomenal.
Looked amazing. The Zootopia thing over in Shanghai. Both of these lands could be, they're so well done. They could be in Tokyo Disney Sea. I mean, they're incredible looking. So you go and you drop those tidbits during the week leading up to Destination D, right? So you're getting everyone like, oh my God, excited for Destination D, because if they're dropping big stuff like this during the week, showing us all this amazing stuff, what is the event going to show us? It must be really big if they're leading with this. Then we get to the event, and look, I'm not as hard on it as a lot of other fans. I think some of these announcements were decent, very mid, whatever. Okay, nothing terrible, but nothing mind-blowing either. It's kind of like whatever. The problem with that, though, is that you set the bar now so fucking high with all this overseas stuff all week leading up to this event. Now when the event comes and you announce a 4D Zootopia thing in the tree, it's like wah. Because we just saw this amazing, fully immersive themed experience over in Shanghai just a few days ago. So this is the problem that Josh is having. This is not the first event that he's had a problem with the D23 Expo, with all his what if and maybe and all the blue sky stuff he did for the Expo back a year ago. He got a lot of heat. Fast forward now he's doing the same kind of stuff. He's bumbling this stuff. He's bumbling it, and he's getting into like this blue sky stuff. And we'll get into it in this video, but even some of the additions here for Animal Kingdom aren't confirmed. It's always like this. This is what we're considering, you know. And I know I get shit for it on Twitter and stuff, but like that whole thing about this what if and the blue sky, unconfirmed stuff being announced at these expos started with Josh Giamaro. It didn't start with Bob Chapek. When Bob Chapek was running the parks, he announced. You don't have to like Bob Chapek. You can hate his guts, and that's fine. He fucked up a lot. I'm not saying he didn't, but when he announced something, it was greenlit. It wasn't like he wasn't announcing stuff that was like maybe we're thinking about it. At least for all his faults, when Chapek announced something, it was something that was going to happen, right?
Correct.
This stuff is like he's telling you that this is a maybe. This is like a possibility, and he pulled the same crap at the expo last year. And I'm sorry, that doesn't work. I don't know why he is hell-bent on doing this maybe what if stuff. I don't know if he has a problem like owning and like signing off on something big. Maybe he's afraid it's going to fail, so he needs to like weather balloon it. But Josh, you run the parks. You have to lead, okay? You decide if you pick something and greenlight it. Enough of the using the expo and the conventions and the events as a giant focus group. Enough. Like fans are tired of it. Fans are burnt the hell out with that stuff. And he did it again with the Indiana Jones thing and the Encanto thing. But go ahead, George. I'm sorry for my little rant, but it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah, no,
that
it really is. And you would think that Josh would have learned his lesson from the expo, because people were not happy. You know, they were. You know, he brings up Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, and it's like, okay, well, we got big plans. You know, we got, you know, Beyond Big Thunder, and, you know, oh, like, what if we did Coco, or what if we did Encanto, or we have a whole land dedicated to the Disney villains? When they mentioned the villains, that whole auditorium exploded with clapping and cheering and hooting and hollering. So if he's waiting for something to get a reaction, there's your reaction, Josh. It's like it's right there in front of you. If people are screaming and hooting and hollering and they're like begging you to build this thing, it's like, then give the fans what they want.
Well, then it makes no sense because, okay, so last year, like almost to the day a year ago at the D23 Expo, he gave us this what if thing, the Beyond Big Thunder, and Encanto was part of that, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So you would think after a year, we would have some concrete plan. I think a year is enough time to kind of nail something down.
Yes.
No, instead of nailing something down, he just takes that same idea and puts it into a brand new what if, which is now an Animal Kingdom.
Correct.
We've made zero progress.
No.
Like we've gotten, that's the thing, Josh. Like, that's what I'm talking about with the messaging with this guy. Like, it's really, 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 really bad. Like I said before, I think that he needs to start making decisions like on these big projects and own it. Whether it sinks or swim, Josh. You can't play it safe and never act on stuff. You know, this is getting kind of crazy. And I do put it on Josh because I feel like this is happening way more under Josh Giamaro than it did even under Bob Chapek. I know. I'm going to defend Chapek just for a little bit here, even though he did a shit job in so many ways. But at least with this, I feel like, look, with Chapek, we got Cosmic Rewind. We got stuff. And there were announcements and tangible things that were actually announced and built. This guy doesn't do anything. It's all what if and blue sky nonsense.
Yeah. It's more so, it just seems like that they have Josh there for the pretty face. He's there for the Instagram photos. He's there to meet the fans. And he's just trying to give us what we want without actually giving it to us. And it's like, I have yet to see something constructive that he has done being the chairman of Parks and Resorts. And it just seems like I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to give him these extra chances. And I thought, and I even took to X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it nowadays. I even said, this is Josh's opportunity. This is his chance. He can redeem himself with Destination D23 that he didn't do at the Expo. Now, mind you, to the credit that a lot of times you don't really get these big announcements at Destination D23, but I think that they did this because it was the actual year of the Disney 100, the 100th anniversary for the company. So, being that the expo was not during this time, they wanted to give us something a little bit more utilizing Destination D. So, this is where this is now two big events that Josh has disappointed us, where we're just getting the what ifs. Now I watched and rewatched the live presentation, and when Bruce Vaughn came out, he seemed very concerned, and you can kind of hear it in his voice, like he was excited to announce something, but he seemed concerned about the route of like for which was decided upon, almost like where it wasn't his decision to want to do these projects. It's almost like it's like, okay, we have the potential, but this isn't the route to go. And Bruce Vaughn made the announcement for Zootopia, and then he made the announcement. It's like, okay, well, what is going in Dino Land? And sure enough, it's not Zootopia, and it's not even Moana. They're actually doing a type of tropical,
South
the
American.
tropical South America type of that leads into Central America. And the piece of concept art that they showed us, it fits Animal Kingdom like a glove. It really does. It fits so well. And I'm actually kind of glad that they went that route in that sense over Zootopia, because it actually is organic with nature. Now, where my head is scratching at is that the IP that they're putting this in is Encanto, and then even more bizarre, it transitions back where Dinosaur was, and they're putting Indiana Jones in. So then that beckons the question: Are we just getting a 30-year-old attraction that's being reskinned from Dinosaur? Are we getting a whole new storyline? How does this fit in Animal Kingdom? Encanto and Indiana Jones tied together doesn't even make sense. Like, I
Well,
don't even
yeah.
know how you would even transition that.
Well, yeah. Well, I think what they're doing is similar to what they did with Everest. Is that like, because Everest really doesn't have anything to do with animals either. I mean, it really doesn't. Everest has everything to do with like the area it's in, which is Asia, right? So it's themed to the area, but it doesn't have anything to do with, from what I understand. I mean, unless I'm missing some backstory thing in the queue, I don't know. I don't see much conservation or animal angle at all with that attraction. I think that's what they're doing here with Indiana Jones. Is I think basically it's just going to be, you're going to have South America, and you're going to have basically Indiana Jones will be like an Everest, where it fits the locale. It'll feel like South America. The temple, I'm sure, will be located in South America, and the backstory and all that stuff. But it doesn't necessarily relate to animals or conservation. I think that's the angle they're going in. They're taking the Expedition Everest route, and I think they're doing the same thing with Encanto. I think Encanto has a little more potential, though. And George, you brought it up to me on the phone about if they use the little boy. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. From Encanto.
I forget too. I only seen Encanto like once or maybe twice. I'm not too familiar with the
Yeah,
names.
but if they go the angle and have like him as the main focus with all the animals that surrounds him, I think that Encanto could work in Animal Kingdom pretty well. It just depends on the angle they kind of choose with Encanto, though. I think that with him, they could do that. I don't know if they're going to do that, though, to be honest with you. Indiana Jones, there's nothing to do with animals, okay? And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I know on Twitter people say, "Oh, but snakes." Okay,
Yeah.
snakes. I get it. But at the end of the day, though, I really do think that they're just doing the Expedition Everest thing. They're just gonna throw that thing in there and have it fit South America, not necessarily fit the theme of animals. So.
Now, I have mentioned this quite a few times on social media, but it's only fair I have to say it on the channel as well. If they wanted to do something with South America and they wanted to put in a house there, I wouldn't have done the house from Encanto. I would have done Carl Fredrickson's house from Disney Pixar's Up.
Right.
Because you have Paradise Falls, which is set in South America. You already have the characters utilized already in the parks. Kevin is a walk-around character that meets and greets the people. You have the meet and greet with Russell and Doug. You know, you touched upon when I did bring up that concept. You know, you have the wilderness explorers. You know, so it has to do with nature and outdoors and animal conservation, about protecting the animals, of how Russell wanted to protect Kevin and her babies and what
Right.
have you, and just the overall aesthetics of Up. You could have had a big grand waterfall with the jungle area and the rock work. It would have worked. I think it would have worked perfectly in
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom, and then you would have still had that South American attribute to it.
Yeah, but see the thing is, and it's coming from the higher ups. Like I don't think this is from like coming from Imagineering, to be fair to Imagineering. I think that these IP decisions are coming from Burbank. And they're looking at the spreadsheet and they're going, well, Up doesn't hit all the demos that we want to hit, the 18 to 35 or whatever they're trying to hit, right? It's not as big of an IP maybe as an Encanto, so Encanto wins or Indiana Jones wins. Look, I love both of these. I love all these franchises. I love Encanto. I think it's a beautiful movie, and I love Indiana Jones like immensely. But you also have to keep in mind like what works in the park. And I get it that like Indiana Jones is bigger than maybe an Up in terms of franchises go. But I think you need to respect the park a little more than they're doing. And I think Burbank doesn't see that. It's very
Yeah.
they're trying to. It's very what's the word for it? Kind of like they're trying to aim towards certain demographics, you know, in terms of like the age groups, or they want this or that, and what franchise made more money and this, that, and the other. And then in doing all that stuff, it's not, you're not getting the best IP for the area. So while Up might not have like that, you know, like a younger audience or whatever that they want, it fits Animal Kingdom better thematically. So I don't know, and I understand they're a business. I understand they have to and they get the masses excited. And Encanto is a much better way to do that. I just feel like you have to have a little more balance, you know. So we'll see. And again, it all comes down to execution. I think Encanto, there's potential there if they want to go there with it. We'll see. But you're right though, George. Up would have been a way better franchise. Up fits perfectly in Animal Kingdom in so many ways.
Yeah, and especially with the audience's reaction to Encanto,
Yeah.
I think they were more so confused than anything, especially because it was just announced that Encanto was supposed to be part of the Beyond Big Thunder. And that actually got bigger appraise for Encanto being in Magic Kingdom, along with Coco and the villains. And as
Right.
far as Indiana Jones go, I thought that would have done very well in Hollywood studios. And it just seems like they're just taking these IPs and just throwing them anywhere just for the convenience purpose of saying, okay, well, we have to replace this, so let's just put this here.
Yeah, it's very formulaic. It's very, you know, corporate and stuff, and there's not enough focus on the creative angle, I think, in a lot of these decisions. Look, these are great franchises. I'm going to say this over and over again. Encanto is a beautiful franchise, but there are better places that you can put Encanto that would serve that franchise better. And that's kind of all I'm saying is like, don't try to shoehorn it in because Animal Kingdom needs this or that, but you're sacrificing the integrity of the theme of the park and everything when you do that. So it's just a shame. And I'm sorry, like, just to get back to Josh, like I feel like it's time to move on from this era of the parks. I really wish, and it's probably never going to happen because I think Bob Iger really likes Josh Tomorrow, but I think it's time. I really wish they get someone else in there. I really do. I think that he is not the guy for this job.
I miss
and he
Tom
doesn't
Staggs.
seem. Oh, me too. Oh, big time,
Like,
dude. He was amazing.
He would have been the Beyond Big Thunder and Animal Kingdom would have been already lifting dirt by now.
Well,
if Staggs was in.
Staggs made things happen. He did a great job with so many things, whether it be Pandora. I think Galaxy's Edge started under Tom Staggs. New Fantasyland, which turned out fantastic. Like there were so many good things on his watch, and I understand it was a different time too for the company and everything like that. So I get that. There's factors involved that are beyond Josh's control. You know what I'm saying? He's dealing with a different set of challenges than Staggs did. I get that. I tell you, man, this guy just with the PR and the messaging and the way he handles these expos and these conventions and stuff, and the way he almost like sets himself up for failure. Like I didn't watch the whole thing, but didn't he bring? They brought out the Muppets, right?
That was the other thing that a lot of people like. They were heavily utilizing the Muppets for everything.
But then they didn't announce anything for the Muppets.
No, they just
So
utilized the Muppets. So there was no correlation. Like, why not utilize that to build up some anticipation? Say, hey, you know what? The Muppets are coming back in a big way. We're updating Muppet Vision 3D, and the Muppets are getting their own mini land in Hollywood studios or something.
But they didn't announce anything. So they bring out the Muppets. See, this is what I'm talking about with the messaging with this guy, okay? So he comes out there. You have a bunch of super fans in the audience who he knows we all love the Muppets. So you go in front of that huge audience of all these super fans and you bring out a bunch of Muppet stuff. So what does he think is going to happen with that? Where does he think that the fans' brains are going to go? Oh, he must be announcing something with the Muppets. So you get all these fans excited. Oh my God, the Muppets are out. Something big with the Muppets is going to happen. And he fucking just pulls the rug out from under you. Like, and nothing is announced. It just makes no sense. And it's like unnecessary, like almost like a self-inflicted PR black eye for like no reason. Like, and then all that crap in the beginning with Hercules. Did they announce anything
that
with
was the other
Hercules?
thing too. Yeah, because you and I were messaging each other while it was starting. They started the intro with the Muses singing "Zero to Hero" and "Go to the Distance" and what have you. And we thought that, you know, because there were rumors circulating that there's a possibility that Hercules was coming to the Hyperion, and being that Rogers the Musical just recently closed out, we thought, okay, are they hinting at something with Hercules that you know later on that they'll make an announcement to say, hey, a Hercules musical's coming to the Hyperion Theater? No, they just decided to just verbatim just decided to do Hercules songs as part of the intro. I don't get it.
It's a lot of decisions here, and you know, it just I don't know, and that's why I feel like this guy isn't right for the job. And it's nothing against him as a person. He seems like a really great guy. I would love to have a beer with the guy. He seems like a really like a likable guy, like a genuinely likable guy. I'm sure he's great in person. I just think for Disney or the parks or whatever, I feel like this guy doesn't understand it. I feel like he just kind of I don't know. I just feel like he's sort of missing the boat here with so much of this. So we'll see how it all pans out. I don't know, dude.
But also, Bruce Vaughn had mentioned the Beyond the Big Thunder as well. Now, nothing was set in stone with that. However, from Bruce's lips, from his, you know, he is stating that this is going to be the biggest ambition expansion in Magic Kingdom history. It's going to be bigger than New Fantasyland, and it's going to tie into the type of expansion that it was for Pandora and Galaxy's Edge. Now, again, no news on what that is or what it entails, but he has confirmed there is going to be a big expansion at Magic Kingdom that's beyond Big Thunder. Now, I seriously doubt it's going to be in Kanto, because now if that really truly goes into Animal Kingdom, then what's going to take the place of Encanto? Are they still going to do Coco? Are they still going to do the villains? It's all this uncertainty. And actually, being that we're on that subject, it turns out that even Josh D'Amaro himself said these are concepts that we are considering when it comes to Encanto and Indiana Jones at Animal Kingdom. So that's not even to say we're even going to get that in the place of Dino Land.
Right. Yeah. We're considering some more what if nonsense.
Yeah.
I just Josh, these expos, these fan events are not for like, you know, focus grouping stuff. You gotta, if you have something greenlit and it's going to get built, by all means announce it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you know what? This stuff is insulting. Fans get pissed off. This doesn't excite fans when you tell someone, look at this artwork. This might happen. That doesn't get people excited, you know, and it just makes people frustrated and mad. And there's a lot of fans are upset right now. And I think rightfully so. I think
Yeah,
rightfully so. This was look, and I'm not even like Destination D has never been like an announcement heavy event. And we've talked about this before. Like it's always been kind of a lower key sort of event, right? So in terms of like what's the word for it? You know, in terms of like the sheer number of what was announced the other day, I think
hmm
we actually came out pretty good, to be honest with you,
I
compared to
agree.
other years of the Destination D event,
Oh,
right?
absolutely, I
Yeah,
agree.
this
Yeah,
isn't a big event like that, like D23 Expo, so we have to put that in perspective, you know. But the issue with Josh though too is like you a year ago disappointed fans with the what if stuff at the expo. You frustrated fans. So now the next event, like there's more of an onus on you to deliver and deliver big. So I can understand why fans expected a lot more with this, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it all shakes out in the end. I'm just really frustrated with this whole blue sky thing. I really wish that they would get on the ball with some greenlit stuff, give us some timelines. We haven't heard anything, nothing on this this Avengers e-ticket. They just
hmm
keep just kicking the can down the road. I mean, the whole thing with the Pandora or the Avatar experience at Disneyland, nothing on that.
nothing was mentioned. I'm like convinced right now WDI doesn't even know what they're doing as far as like the decision making, because I feel like it's out of the Imagineers' hands that it never used to be, and it's in these corporate executives, as you had mentioned, OG in Burbank, that is kind of like controlling the puppetry to say this is that, do this, do that. I feel like that the Imagineers don't have their own free will anymore to get creative and use their imagination, and it really shows in these ideas because it just feels like things are just getting thrown together.
Yeah, yeah,
And a couple other things I wanted to touch upon, some other things that we missed. The Hatbox Ghost is coming to the Haunted Mansion at Walt Disney World in, they're saying, late November. I find that kind of interesting because I thought that it would have been installed by now, ready for Halloween. That would have been the perfect time to have the Hatbox Ghost up and running.
right.
But they made that announcement, I believe, in 2019. So it took like 4 years just to get one audio animatronic installed in an attraction that's already there. Um, and then there's also Ahsoka is coming to Star Tours, and I swear this attraction is not going anywhere, folks. I'm telling you right now, they're utilizing this as a Star Wars platform. That any new characters, any new shows that become popular on Disney Plus or in the theaters, they're going to showcase that in Star Tours, which is fine. But then it just beckons the question as to why did they even build Galaxy's Edge?
Right. Yeah, why build this 14-acre Star Wars land that you're not going to fully utilize? You know, and it's like, why don't you give us new missions on Smuggler's Run? I think that would make more sense, you know. But from what I understand, the technology for that one is a little more difficult than the Star Tours thing. But it's like, come on, figure it out. Like, I mean, that's why you had it. That's why you made this ride so interactive, and you sold everybody on the fact that this thing is going to ever like constantly change, and the missions would change, and then you never do it. We've had Galaxy's Edge has been open for what, 4 years now?
4 years.
2019. I mean, we haven't gotten a new mission there. We've gotten countless new stuff on Star Tours. The 35 plus year old attraction. That one we
Yeah.
get updated all the time, but the new thing we never hear anything about. So it's frustrating. I mean, I am glad though, not to be like a negative Nancy. I am glad to hear that we are getting like Ahsoka and Hera and Chopper as walkarounds in Galaxy's Edge. I think that's a good move. Um, there's positive things happening, but I just feel like I don't know. I can see where fans are frustrated. That's all I
Oh
can say.
yeah,
Is I can
yeah, me
see.
too. I can kind of see it both ways. Like I am glad that they gave us some news, but the route that they're going, it's not a good route to take, and they really should recognize that and change that quickly. Because oh, before I do that, one last piece of information: we got the official name for the seventh ship in the Disney Cruise Line fleet, the Disney Adventure, which OG had mentioned from a previous video that should have been the name of Disney Treasure. But no, the Disney Adventure is to set sail in out of Singapore in and out of Asia. It was the ship that was already pre-built that Disney had purchased under Chapek that is getting the Disney retheme, and so that's going to be the first ship that's going to be completely overseas in the Asian Singapore area. And on top of that, we officially got the name for the newest island that Disney owns now, along with Castaway Cay, and it's Lookout Cay as part of Lighthouse Point. I'm not a fan of the name, to be honest with you. Castaway Cay, it rolls nicely off your tongue. Lookout Cay, it's like I don't get it. I would have just preferred just to call it Lighthouse Point.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I like Lighthouse Point. That's whimsical. It feels very. I like that. But Lookout. What is it? Lookout Cay.
Lookout Cay. Yeah,
that's just not. That's just not good. That's just not good. So yeah, there's things here. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. And then the ship is the Adventure, which is funny because we actually talked about that in our last video about the Disney Treasure. We were like, oh, this looks more like the Disney Adventure ship. Yeah. And it's funny that the new ship is called the Adventure. It's a coincidence, obviously, but it's kind of funny how that kind of worked out.
They probably watched our video, and they probably didn't know what to name it. And he said, "Oh, OG." He said Adventure. That's the perfect name. Let's use it.
Exactly. You know, of course, I'm sure that's what happened. That's totally what happened. You know, that's totally what happened.
And then one more final piece of information: the D23. Well, what previously was known as the D23 Expo, now is being called D23, the Ultimate Fan Experience, or something or other. Is now they're taking it to a much grander scale. They are still holding it at the Anaheim Convention Center. It's going to be August 9th through the 11th of 2024. They're going to showcase like the exhibits and everything that was part of the expo on the showroom floor and what have you at the Anaheim Convention Center, but they are moving the bigger, more popular presentations and panels at the Honda Center, which holds roughly around 20,000 people. Now that's very interesting because obviously the parks presentation is going to be part of one of those presentations at the Honda Center. So you mean to tell me that they're going to fill up that arena with over 20,000 diehard Disney fans and give us what ifs?
Yeah,
I seriously doubt that that's going to happen. So I wonder, is this a build-up for what is to come in 2024?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. It's like I'm trying to think positive of like
I know
what can come out of it, and then Daddy Josh just goes in and fucks it up.
Well, Daddy Josh has a real talent for making you think going into something that you're going to get something big. You know? And so that's why I'm like, I've been stood up at the altar so many times with this. And that's why I'm kind of like, honestly, George, you say, will they give us a bigger arena and announce nothing? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I don't know. I will see. I've been, and look, I got to be fair to Josh actually though. I've been kind of off the whole like Disney like convention thing for a long time now, and it's not just the like D23 or anything like that. Like even like Star Wars Celebration. Like I think that these events for the longest time, I mean I'm talking years now, rarely ever kind of meet my expectations. Like I think the last time I've had the last year that I think that it blew me away was 2015 when we got the Galaxy's Edge announcement at D23, and we had the Chewie We're Home trailer at Star Wars Celebration and all that stuff. That was the last year that these expos really impressed me. Since then, it's been disappointing expo after disappointing expo for the most part. Some tidbits of good stuff here and there, but for the most part, they let me down. You know, so I'm kind of checked out a little bit with these. My expectations are way low. You know, so but we'll see. But Yeah, I mean, we're going to actually do even, believe it or not, even a deeper dive on this topic on, well, we're recording on Friday, so it should be up by Friday night, or maybe we'll do it live. Should we do it live? I
We could
don't
do it
know.
live. We could talk to our other fellow panelists and see
Yeah,
what they think.
yeah, we'll talk to the other guys because one of the gentlemen, it would be his first time on, so I don't want to like overwhelm him or whatnot, because live is a whole different can of worms, and when you're first time, it might be a little bit overwhelming. So we'll talk to them and see what they think. But yeah, look for a deeper dive of all these announcements on Friday. We'll definitely get into it. But George, my fellow Italian, I want to thank you so much for coming on the channel, talking shop with me. You can let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X at Disney George. Please check out the podcast, A Walk with Walt. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And speaking of D23, I actually got some details set up for next year. We got the hotel kind of set up, and the Orange Grove 55 crew will be out on location at the D23 expo or non-expo or whatever the hell you want to call it. We're going to be there for the event, so if you happen to see us, definitely come on over. We love the attention. So.
I love the attention. Yeah. Oh man. Well, thank you so much, George. I appreciate you as always, brother. I appreciate you coming on here and doing these with me, and I appreciate all of you at home for watching. So if you can go ahead and comment down below with all your thoughts, we would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching OG55, and as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.